Brewster here, new episode of Chordplay, and this is the Chords of Trapeze, and I've had a lot of requests to feature this legendary but commonly overlooked band, and Trapeze formed in England in 1969, and I kind of consider this band a transition band, because the core, like trio of the group, Glenn Hughes, Dave Holland, and also Mel Galley, they went on to bigger and better things after this band, but all three of them were kind of the core trio, at least in the early years, but they had some member changes and they kind of broke up and then reformed and broke up and reformed numerous times. Definitely a great band with some great music for sure, so buckle up because here we go. And as far as that core trio that I was talking about with Trapeze, Glenn Hughes, Dave Holland, and Mel Galley, you got to think Glenn Hughes left this band and joined Deep Purple. Eventually Dave Holland left this group and started working with Judas Priest, and then eventually Mel Galley left this group and started working with Whitesnake. So it was kind of a crossroads band for these musicians, and they made great music together, but then obviously they made great music with other bands too. And in the guitar department, we have the late, great Mel Galley. Definitely have had a lot of requests to feature Mel, and he's commonly overlooked. Definitely a legendary guitarist, and I have to admit that I'd never really checked out his music until I started putting this episode together. I mean, obviously I have, slided in by Whitesnake, and I'd heard some other, albums of music that he'd worked on, but I'd never really dove into Trapeze until I put this lesson together, and I was blown away. I was like, man, there is so much cool stuff going on, riffs and solos and stuff, chord work. Definitely the package player and a great guitarist. And as far as some of the bands and artists that Mel Galley worked with in his lifetime and career, obviously Trapeze, also Whitesnake, also Glenn Hughes, solo material, Cozy Powell, a band called Phenomena, and some others. But here's Mel Galley's, kind of musical resume, I guess, right here. So the chord, bass, and rhythm guitar parts in this lesson came from 3 classic Trapeze albums. Keep in mind, during their career, they released, 6 studio albums, 6 live albums, and 4 compilations. And it wasn't until I dove in and really started listening to their music that I was just blown away, got my socks rocked off. Definitely Mel and company had some great music, great riffs. There's some great chord work, and chord play happening, in some of this music. Just great songs, too. Great solos and stuff. I was shocked. So if you're a fan, you know what's coming, and if you're new to this group, buckle up, because this, this music definitely kicks ass. With the opening, that was me playing around with the song Turn It On from the album Hotwire, which is on the wall right there. Somehow I was able to track that down. Great album, super funky. Even though it doesn't have Glenn Hughes, it is a little later in Trapeze's career without Glenn Hughes. But super funky, mid-70s, kind of a reflection of the time, because funk was really popular at that time. There's funk all over that album. So there's 2 guitars here. The first guitar is very simple. This is what I was looping with the MXR clone looper, like this. Like that. So right there, low E again, G to A, slid to B, and then D, and then an E to D pull-off for that first part. And the second part, E, G to A, and then end on that D. Like that. So it's 2 parts, there's 2 halves. And then do it again. And then the second guitar comes in eventually. So I'm going to loop that part here in just a second. But the second guitar is doing this kind of hybrid picked, intervallic, slip and slide, move and groove kind of thing. Something like that. So slowly. Kind of what it looks and sounds like, and let's kind of walk through that. So the low E, and it's real bouncy right here, the low E, that G to the low E. We're also grabbing that that E note there on the D string, pulled off to D. So you're going to basically do that hammer on pull off there, the low E, that G to low E, and then we're grabbing that E pulled off the D, like that. After you do the E to D pull off, then you're going to do that G to E pull off on the low E, and then you're going to slide that A into B. And then he keeps grabbing this G, E to D right there. That's it. So you're sliding up, grabbing that D right there, and then that's where you grab that G, E to D. So that's really weird. And when you grab that G, E to D, that's where you're going to grab this A note, and then you're going to grab the open A, and then I'm basically sliding this E back to D there. So that's really unusual. Like that. And then after you do the open A, that E to D slide, then play the low E open, and then this A to B slide. And that's where you're going to go back to that G, E to D, and then end with A right there. So really slow all the way through it. One more time, even slower. And a little faster. And it definitely has a groove to it. You just have to work on it and find it. And when you put those guitar parts together, here's guitar 1, and then I'm going to jump in with guitar 2. At the end of that part, then you're going to basically do this low E, G to A, slid to B, and then that D, B to A. And then it's power chords right there. E, F sharp to G. And a little fill. So right there, that A, B flat to B, and then you're doing fourths right there. That D to G, E to A right there. Back to that G note, and then that A, B flat to B to that D. And then do that again with the power chords and do the riff again. And definitely a really cool song, and I love that funky interplay here. And that's super, super funky. So cool. Next up's the song Black Cloud from the album Medusa, and this is the Glenn Hughes period. This is really cool, like this. So there's two guitars for that first part, and you listen really, really carefully. It doesn't really sound like power chords. It just sounds like single notes as far as the root notes there. Like that. So that's how I recorded like the loop for guitar 1, just a single G, and they were basically sliding that D to E and then catching that G note there on the D string. Like that. Then go to F and do that same slide, D to E, and grab that G. And then a single C note right there. And then this kind of quick, that F, F sharp to G kind of scoot up there like that. So that's what I was looping with the MXR clone looper. And then guitar 2 is kind of doing a harmony of that. And then just to kind of fill it out a little bit more, because there's a bass and stuff in there too. Then that's where I was playing power chords there for that second guitar part. You know, G5, and there I'm sliding, you know, a G to A and grabbing C now. So we're basically harmonizing fourths like that, but we're doing it with two guitars. And that's guitar 1, and guitar 2 was doing right, and that F, and that G to A, grab that C. The same thing on that C there. And then, you know, something like this. Noticeably hear the song shift, and I think this is actually an acoustic guitar. I'm just going to play it on electric. But right there we've got G to like a G6, or a G to like a G sus2 right there. And we're grabbing that B, moving it to that A, which is the sus2, and then open up that G string right there. So it's G major, G sus2 to like a G5 right there. And right there, that's an F6 right there. You hear him, you know, he's basically grabbing, it's like an F, you know, think of like an F bar chord, but the open D string's in there, and that's the 6th. And then also that open G and hammer on that A note there, right there. And then C major to a C major 7. And then end up on that G right there, right? Just one fretted note, the open D, G, and B string, like that. Really cool riff, a cool song, and some cool chords sneaking in there too. Next up's the song Feelin' So Much Better Now. This is from the album You Are the Music, We're Just the Band. This is really cool, like this. So a big D5 right there, and then we're basically sliding thirds, like minor and major thirds right there. You could think of that like E minor to F sharp minor and back, and then D major right there. So minor thirds and a major third. Then a G5. And then basically fret this G note on the D string, play the open A with it, and then grab that B note, like a G over B. And then move that to C5. And you're going to end up strumming that C5 twice. So, and then... something like that. And then eventually, after that runs its course... do a D5, so do that D5, slide that E into F sharp, and then catch the top part of that D5, you know, power chord, and then do a similar thing in A, but it's going to end with A major, like that. So you're going to slide that B into C sharp, and then grab this E and C sharp like that, and then just end on a G5 right there. Goes right back to the really cool song, and that's a cool riff too. Next up's the riff from Goin Home. This is from the album Hot Wire, and this is so cool, like this. Swampy, bluesy, just really cool idea. And we're basically sliding this G into A, then the open A, and then that fretted A right there. And when you get to that fretted A, go back to that open A again. And then you're going to basically kind of smear bend the C to the open G, like that. And then that G to A right there fretted. And that's really really interesting. After you do that G to A, then you're grabbing this D, E, D down to C, and then the open A right there, and then slide that G fretted into that fretted A. So there's all this slip and slide, open string, ringing notes, and it's just really, really cool. So one time through it is right, and then when you start that slide right there, you're basically starting it again. Song starts like fading in, but check that song out, and when it starts grooving and the band comes in, it's like Zeppelin or something. It just kicks ass. Next up's the song Feelin' Inside from Hotwire, and it's got this single note funky riff in the beginning, and then the chord progression section's really cool when the song kind of opens up like this. Something like that. So it starts with this E riff, and I'm actually hybrid picking most of that riff, like the low E to that E note, and then it's like a funky D, C sharp to E, then the open D string, and then that smear bend on that G note right there on the low E to low E open, like that. There, stop on that C sharp, and then you've got this so there's like an implied chord progression happening here, like E7 to G7, D to A, but he's doing so like that fretted E note, that low G note to the low E open, and then an open D to that E note fretted, like that, and then an open G to G sharp, right there on the G string, and then the high E open. So that's all over E7 right there, and he's doing, and then it's moving to G, right? So that single G note, that single E note to that fretted G note to low E open, and then a G5 power chord, right like that. And then right here, you're going to slide this A into B and catch that high G note. So that's for G right there. Now we're moving to D, and we're going to do, so like that E to that fretted G note to low E open, then like an open position D5 right there. Then right there, slide into this high F sharp and grab that high D. So that's for D. And then we're going to A. So that's that E note, that G to low E, and then that G kind of slid into an A5. And then right there, slide into that C sharp, that high A to the high E open, and then that B note to that G. And you do all that again. Really cool riff, and I'm a sucker for those kind of funky grooves, and that's a really cool song too. Last but not least is the song Coast to Coast, and this is from the album You Are the Music, We're Just the Band, and I did feature this back in August in the Hughes Thrall chordplay lesson that I put together, and I guess I was so distracted by Pat Thrall's delay tricks and his riffs that I screwed this song up in that episode. I mean, it wasn't real bad, but I did have some viewers that kind of pointed out, like, I don't think you quite played it right. And then I went back and listened to it, and it's like, yeah, I kind of screwed the pooch on this song. Really cool song. And I want to demonstrate, like, the way that they actually played it, and then I want to demonstrate the way that I played it in the previous lesson. So it's something like this. that's the way they actually played it. I did find a live clip of Glenn Hughes, like solo concert, and they played this song, and that's how they played it. And in my Hughes and Thrall lesson from back in August, that first chord, I arranged like that, and that's still E major 7. Either way, it's actually the exact same chord, just played in a totally different way right there. That's what I had right there, and that's what they actually play right there. And for some reason I also screwed up that low E in the Hughes Thrall lesson. I don't know why I just played 2 low E's. It's actually 3, like that, like 2 16ths and then an 8th note, and then E major 7 right there. Do the exact same thing to D major 7 right there. And I don't know if you can hear Eddie's vibrating over there. Apparently Eddie doesn't like this chord. So what, you don't like major 7th chords, Eddie? I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway, E major 7, D major 7, and then eventually we're going to move to this C6 over G, where we're holding that A note. Then you want to open up that G string with the open G, then it's just a C over G, like that. And then an A sus2 to A minor, like that. As far as what I put in the Hughes Thrall chord play episode, it's very similar. I mean, I wasn't like blatantly wrong, but I played E major 7 like that instead of like this, like that. And then I went to this, which, I mean, that's kind of like a D13, I guess. So I was kind of hitting, you know, that major 7 sound, but I was doing it like that. And then I did do the C6 to C major, but then I did like a A sus2, you know, and then I did like that A minor add 9, like that. You know, it's the same progression pretty much. You know, but I think that actually that's the way they play it, like this. Apologize for kind of screwing that up in the Hughes Thrall chord play lesson. I mean, I was close, but I don't think I was really paying attention, for one thing. But that's a great song and a great guitar part too. Alright, that's going to wrap this episode of Chord Play with this look at the Chords of Trapeze. Definitely a very inspired and inspiring band, for sure. I know I'm very inspired after working on this lesson and kind of listening to their music and really getting an earful of Mel Galley's guitar playing. I mean, what a monster guitarist, overlooked, unsung, and he's gone now. You know, he's passed away. And, you know, I did notice, you know, requests kind of coming in from viewers out there, and I was like, okay, trapeze. And I just kept putting it off. And then when I finally, you know, dove into these albums and started listening to this music, it just rocked my socks off. I thought, man, this is great. What was I waiting for? You know, some great music, overlooked, not really, you know, talked about that much unless it's a trapeze fan and they're telling you to check it out. But definitely a great band. Mel's a monster. I love Glenn Hughes for sure. And then the Judas Priest, Dave Holland connection's really cool too, where it's like, man, this band is dynamite. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.